My next comment is about a video I watched where Trish shares her real side experiences. Trish was a former corporation member. So she recounts in her experience how she meets this high initiate who suddenly died. And from the description, he's badly taplined, and he's even embarrassed where he finds himself. And he realizes the fallacy that those who pass on to the other side, call it the real side, are met by the masters and escorted to whatever level they have earned. So he finds himself in this distressing situation, taplined, confused, and Trish realizes that is his dilemma, and he's even becoming reptilian from his contact with the corporation. Now, with the new presentation, do we follow the same lines? This guarantee that the new student is met on the real side by the golden guides, by the real guides, and conducted to the level that he has earned on earth? Duane?
Is that it, Charles?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so you want a guarantee like with your refrigerator? They have good ones at Walmart. Walmart has the best guarantees. You can get 3 years. It's not that expensive at all. There's a movie, and I'm assuming you saw it. It's an old one called The Godfather, with Marlon Brando and De Niro. What's his name? Etc. And then Al Pacino later comes on. He's the son, etc. He comes in, moves in, eventually becomes the Godfather. And they like to go to church, and they like to give to the church, and they like to make it look good, kind of like buying their way into heaven, etc. And so this is how it's become we'll use the corporation. This is how it's become with the corporation idea, and that is that they just basically pay their membership dues. They do the little spiritual exercises with the hue, the reptilian hue, and they figure that Harry's going to take care of them. Okay, it's all in the brochures and everything like that. It all looks good, but in the meantime, they've set their real awareness aside because they don't need that. Because again, all they have to do is just pay their dues. And everything's supposed to be taken care of. And so, again, it's a non-think position so they can get back to their personal life. And yes, Trish was a sweetheart. She is a sweetheart. She did these videos. She shared what was going on realistically. And that's just a drop in the bucket compared to what's really going on, because it's prevalent everywhere. And it's just that people don't see it, just like the world that we're living in. And yeah, so this is the risk-taker position. It's very interesting how it works, and that is that this is why I always point to the isness, because this is the adventure with the individual. The guides are really there. They're not babysitters. They're not going to live your life. They're not going to guarantee that you're going to go to some beautiful place or whatever. You have to figure that out. Just like here, you figure out your life here and where you're going to live and how you're going to live this life and what you're going to do in this life. And they're just letting people know that there is something else. This becomes the difference. We're becoming a little more real here. And that is that, it's like the membership is like the little birdies in the nest, and where they're fed, okay? But if the little birdie dies in the nest, then on the real side, probably more than likely, the little birdie's still going to be in a nest somewhere thinking that, oh, gee, I thought I was going to go to heaven, but Well, I'm still stuck here in the nest. It's kind of like that. So at a certain point in the physical sense, because everything complies with your real awareness, even though you are not aware of this, it complies with it. So, as the birdie in the physical sense gets out and flies and has his own life and flies everywhere, well, so it is on the real side. You decide. The boys are just showing you what else is possible. It's not that you follow them around like a little duck and follow the mama duck. No, that's not it. There's a bigger adventure to be had, but at the same time, learning to make sense with the whole of life more so than the personal side. Now, that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge ever. Seeing that personal side. And again, yeah, a person can go out and do whatever they want. Doesn't mean it has anything to do with the whole of life. So again, it's very interesting. And yes, Sandy is going to write up an experience she talked about too on last Wednesday or so, or Sunday, about a couple of hired issues or actors that you know that died in a motorcycle crash. And when she saw them on the real side, and their remark was, gee, we didn't really think it'd be like this. It's like, I guess didn't look too good. And so again, expectations. So you have this also. You got a lot of marketing ploy here instead of real experience. And this is what we're sharing, showing people how to get real experience, wake up, face the nonsense, and get through it. But yeah, all the cliches of the sound good stuff, and you're saved after death, and you'll go to heaven, and Jesus will be there. Well, that's all nice. That's a great production, but is it so? Because it's really the individual's choice. So, yeah, still people come into this looking for guarantees. There's no guarantees with anything. It's a roll of the dice. You have to be the real risk taker. You have to learn and recognize that you are the decider. No one can decide for you. Life itself can. Life is an isness. It is what it is. It is not thinking or concerned or deciding. It already is, like the air you breathe. But more so because it's all alive. And to recognize this all aliveness and at the same time see what's taking place here. Again, even Paul specified this. Life is about real survival. What we've come to know here is a lifestyle of being dependent upon things that come and go that really don't matter. But in the meantime, yes, we do use them, but realistically seeing them. And what's so cool is that once you have the total awareness is talked about, you see everything, and then creation is fine. You know how to handle it, and you can have fun in creation, but that's not the idea. From my view, what I see is I support the is and how it sees what it sees. That's all that matters to me. And however creation applies, fine, I do it. I do whatever I can here. And so, but I see that. That's number one with me. That's everything. And it only gets better as I focus on that. But again, when people put their personal life first, they're going to run into these situations, and they're going to end up confused and wonder why they're there, because they didn't recognize the choices that they made. They didn't recognize their intent, okay, which is the real awareness. And they didn't know how to position their intent. They weren't taught that. You're not taught that in the membership. Not at all. You're just taught to just be duh and listen to Harry and, read the books, do the spiritual exercises, which just brings in more tap lining. And once in a while, they'll send you one of their fake initiations. That's the whole routine. And everybody feels good because, again, their personal la-la land life comes first, which there is no such thing here, but that comes first. And so, again, they've paid their way, just like the Godfather goes to the church once in a while and pays the reptilian priests, a few bucks, thinking that, oh, I'll be taken care of. Yeah, they do have a protection racket there. They protect each other until they run out of food. Then they eat each other. That's their MO too. So life is interesting in creation, isn't it? But we need creation, like I said. But at some point, you wake up, you decide, you are the decider, you decide to make a better choice or not, or stay with your old routine. So we're just having the time of our life here, aren't we, Charles?
Okay, Duane. So I was thinking that even though we are in the new era, the same conditions of life prevail, and the things are even more more advanced or chaotic at the same time than it was in Portuguese time. I was just thinking that maybe some good low-cost opportunity which you're involved with could be adopted by everyone, and we have to highlight it to the world, and through that, in the nature of multi-marketing, people could become self-sufficient, just like in those days, and the effects will be seen in other domains. Just thinking in that light. Okay. Now, Duane, there is this phenomenon of extraterrestrials visiting this dimension in spaceships with blazing lights, and the American military, which is very advanced, cannot even stop them, and their space ships are so much advanced that what we have here is just child's play. Can it be said that some of the golden guides are having fun visiting this level in spaceships come as UFOs? Can we say that? Or can we surmise that is so? Okay.
Well, you brought it up, Charles. It sounds interesting. How do you see it? Did they visit you yet, Charles? Have they, it's, when it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and you look out your window, there was an old movie called Visitors from Mars or something, where this kid is looking out his back window and it's a little bit stormy, and all of a sudden he sees a UFO crash and it goes underground. It's interesting you bring this up, but the public has a huge marketing ploy to it, to where it would seem to be that most of the public is still thinking in terms, because they've been taught to think this way, that there are possibly aliens out there or other life forms, when actually those other life forms are what has created the whole systems on this planet already. And so, it's a little bit in reverse, but again, it's marketing ploy, and the military and all these people, they know all about these things. I knew people in the military, and one fellow I knew actually did some of my corporation's tax stuff, and he's very aware. He worked, he was in the military. He was like a spy, like the Bourne guy, like Matt Damien in the Bourne series, and he's like a secret agent, and he saw UFOs and all that, and they were just not to talk about them. In other words, you want to keep the masses in control. That's the whole idea. Just like in the movie Men in Black, you're not to let the public know about what we're doing. Okay, so you just keep it hush hush. Besides, the public, they don't really want to know in their own way. Some do, most don't, because they just want their personal life to keep going, which is understandable. Okay, it's fine. Everybody can have whatever they want. Everything is choice. But It's prevalent through everything, Charles. It's just you have to learn to decide to want to see it, and a lot of people don't want to see it, and it's all okay. Even with the aliens, the reptilians, whatever, they're not all bad. Most of them, are probably very good people and very good beings or whatever, body types. But again, they've agreed to certain situations where they've gotten themselves in a lot of trouble and situation problems, and they have to deal with it. And this is why they have infested with the so-called humans, whatever, all these different species. There's a lot more to it. As you get into it, it's like endless. But it's like anything we have here, the different body types: elephants, zebras, giraffes, fish, donkeys and sharks and seals and whatever. These are just different body types. Each individual is going through their experience. They make choices. Again, they're usually a product of their environment and what they've been brought up with. And so this is where, like what Paul brought out, or any of the guys, they try to bring something out. They try to get to certain people in certain areas like the Earth here and whatever, to let them know that there's something else. Because again, it's the view of the isness. The isness into survival, and it's like the is the big daddy, and it sees all its children out there. It's the old story of the prodigal son. This was another, parable that was created, and it's very true in its own way, to rescue the individual to become more aware. So, yeah, the alien factor is interesting, but I'm for everyone. It's fine, but at the same time, just like we did, Claudia and I did three little episodes on the Orion Queen and Inky and whatever, and if they're going to be knuckleheads, which they have for eons, put them away in the Phantom Zone, because we don't need the disturbance, and they can just start over and try and figure it out again because they've accumulated so much. And so there are a lot of people like this, to where they've been around thousands and millions of lifetimes. And it's always been here. This is how the planet began. Everybody's an alien, okay? So it's kind of funny. We have, I'm in California here, and people on the borderlines of Arizona and Texas and whatever. We have Mexico right below. And it's kind of funny that we have all these different countries in the world instead of different areas. And it's like the whole world discriminates about the situation it's on. It's rather kind of humorous. And so we call these people that come across the border illegal aliens. Isn't that kind of funny? It's the same word that is aliens from outer space. It's interesting where all these things came from and who decided it, the officialness. So we're a product of our environment, but we can decide to get through this and see the bigger picture and take on the adventure instead of being locked into our personal self and the ideas of it. And a lot of people will discuss, oh, gee, do you think there's life on other planets? That's a little bit funny, isn't it? You're on a planet too in deep, dark space, and I'm sure that individuals on other planets are considering the same thing about you, and you floating out there somewhere. So learning to be a little more objective. So it's a real adventure, isn't it, Charles? And so can you tell us about some of your alien friends?
I've never had any close encounter with this phenomenon, so I don't know if it happens. Sure, it will be an eye opener to me, and just to see their craft and the light it emits will be a treat for me.